Hi, Willie. So there's one more I'd like to show you. In fact, I'm trying to get most of what I do on video just so I remember myself. I may have shown you this one before, I think I have. But A, I like it, and B, there's a few thoughts I have about this one that I'd like to share with you. It's a sandwich routine, and technically speaking, just for the record, it's this. You say stop whenever you feel like it, and you say stop there. Hold on, this is not good. Like this. You've said stop, and I know you remember the card, and what I might do is do this. And let's say you have two black fours, the four of spades, the four of clubs. You have a spectator, lift up about half the cards. They can shuffle first if they want to, and the cards go in the center. The sandwich cards go in the center, and you can see it's the two fours, and I say something along the lines that, you know, your card has to be either above or below the fours, and if I push down, if it was on top, it would now drop down, or I can pull up and it would come from the bottom to the top, and it would, either way it would land smack in the middle and in between the two fours. There's now one card, and namely their card, and then I do it again, and I talk about it being a mathematical trick, so they get to choose yet another card, let's say this one, and the mathematics is that there's 26 red cards, 26 black cards, but since the two fours are both black and the card that they chose before is red, that means there's only 4 black cards left but 25 red cards. It's therefore more likely that their card was a red card, yada yada, and I say, look, this is a red card, go through all the jokes. Well, yes, it is a red card, but it's not my card, and I don't know if their card was red or black. And then you do this, and of course this card turns out to be the second chosen card. And then I say, well, I'll show you how it's done, and they'd say stop yet one more time, and then whatever I want to do, I'll say, well, I'll show you how it's done. It's not the bottom card and it's not the top card. You can do it yourself if you just take one of the fours, place it at the bottom, take one of the fours, place it on top, and that means that you already have trapped your card in between the two black fours, and then I ask them to name the card. They name their card, and I do this, and of course the card is found. Now, this is the technical part of it. First part is beyond sleight of hand from Darwin Ortiz, the bit where you do the you have the card loaded in between the two, and you do the hideout move. The I forgot what it's called. The ribbon spread hideout from, can't think of the name. But anyway, so you do that, and it looks very, very fair, very, very clean. You don't do anything. So the first one is very strong. The second one, because there's no false move in there of any kind, of any sort. And I usually do this in response to a question that gets asked almost all the time. Can you teach me a trick? Can you teach me something? And I say, well, I want to say, look, if I was playing the piano, and you'd ask me to teach you a piece, and I'd teach you how to play chopsticks, that, you know, that just typically wouldn't happen. And it's the same here. This is my instrument, and so on and so forth. But also I want to come across as a nice guy, so I don't want to just say that right off the bat. So I say, well, I'll show you the same trick 3 times in a row, and the third time around, I swear to God, I will show you how it's done. You'll be able to do it yourself. So the first time, that beyond sleight of hand, that looks very, very good. Now there's a card in between the two, and I want to give them something to think about. Actually, they can see the card. This is the first chosen card. The second one, so they, whatever, you bring it to the top, what have you. The second one is this this change in a sandwich by Bernard Berlin, or Berlin, however you pronounce this. There's 1, there's 2, and there's the double. You show this one, but you have to have a reason to show this one again. And my reason is I talk about, you know, 26 red cards, 26 black cards, and so forth, and you just push forward, not this one, but the double, and you immediately spread those. It's a very nice switch. It's really quite imperceptible, especially if you have something to think about. And if you say, well, 26 red cards, 26 black cards, 26 minus 2, 25 minus 1, or what have you, it does make sense. And again, it's not like it's not a lie. It's true. And so they do that, and that's kind of good. It's very, very strong because they don't expect that to be there. And you can always tell that it's very strong because then I say, well, I guess your card must have been red, or what have you. And I cut to a red card. I didn't say it was the 3 of hearts, but it is a red card, or whatever I say. But that's not your card. You're not. But this is a red card. It's still not your card. And when you do this bid, you can tell by the looks in their faces that don't expect that to happen at all. You go ahead, you turn it over, blah blah blah, and so forth, and it's their card. Now the last one is kind of weak. It's not weak, but it's not as good as the first two. It really isn't. I know it isn't, but it's not the end of my performance. But it kind of highlights that sleight of hand portion, even if it was to be sleight of hand. So you control it to the bottom, and it's very easy to just cop it once, and I always do that. It's not at the top. You know, they've peaked it. It's not at the bottom. It's not on top. Even if you were not to show it, they don't typically think of that Muller toss, obviously. But if you show it, it looks very nice, very fair. And then I say, well, look, if you do this, you've already done it. And it's like the smiling mule bid. It's a play on words, really. Your card is in between the two black fours. I promise you I'd show you. And what I just did, I swear to God, it's in between the two black fours. And so it is. I mean, again, you're not lying. And then I ask him for the name of that card. I don't need to know the name of that card because I can just do the toss. But it's one of those things, it's like a false solution. Why would I need to know the name of the card? Well, if you don't, and then sometimes they say, well, you find it. I say, well, look, I'm not that good. You have to tell me. But it's a completely false solution because it makes no difference really from a technical point of view whether they tell me their card or not. But it's like, all right, so they tell me, and I say, well, I'm trying to explain this to you, so I have to throw out the other 49 cards, and then you just throw out every single card except for the card that you had your finger on. It's a non-move to magicians. It's like this hoary old thing, as they say. It's like the Hobson's toss. It's well known, but it's a nice end to this routine. And then I say, well, look, as far as teaching you a trick, because I don't want to teach him a trick, and I'm not going to teach him a trick. Now I'll say something along the lines, well, if this is my instrument, and if I was playing the piano, you wouldn't ask me to teach you a piano piece, and all I could teach you might be chopsticks. But I wouldn't do that, and you wouldn't ask it of a piano player, and they won't ask again, and they won't feel offended, and they still think that you're a nice guy, and the routine itself kind of answers that, and it's very, very magical, and it's the sort of thing that the two previous sandwiches are not explicable with sleight of hand, at least not in their minds. The last one sort of is, because it's just a toss. But then again, they have, I mean, it must be sleight of hand because it just did in my hands, but it's the sort of sleight of hand that would be kind of superhuman to have. But then there is no other explanation. I mean, Darwin Ortiz talks about this at some length. And anyway, I like it, and I've done this for a really long time. And I also think that a sandwich routine is like a signature effect for someone. My sandwich routine is mine. I'm pretty sure nobody's going to do it because it suits me. Your sandwich routine is yours. I'm not talking about the technical aspect. Technically speaking, there's 1,000 sandwich routines and whatnot. One that I like that I occasionally do just for fun is this bit where you have the sandwich cards, I don't know, you have them set aside or what have you, and you do this. Okay, it's somewhere in there. I like the way this looks, and I sometimes do it as like a one-off, where you just catch them, and then in midair they apparently catch a card. But it doesn't fit in this particular routine. But there's a million sandwich handlings. But the ones that you put together for yourself, it's like okay, that's it's like your handwriting. It's not a signature effect like the closer, but it reveals a bit about one's style, I think. And anyway, so this is mine, and it suits me, and I like it, and the reaction is very strong, obviously, which is why I do it just about every time I perform. Anyway, just for the record, in case, I'm pretty sure I did show you that at some point, but anyway, there you go.